Hi guys, welcome to today's video. So, as you can see, I have a baby. This little one here, don't know if you'll be able to see. There you go. This little one is Leelou Aurora Collins. Yeah. Leelou was born on the 28th of November, so quite early. She was born at 39 plus 1. She was born at 27 minutes past 8 and she weighed a tiny £6.13. So what happened? It's going to be a really quick video. I'm just talking about how she was born really, and then when we're feeling a bit more up to it, we can probably talk more, in depth. But I just wanted to post this video out there just so you guys know I haven't vanished. We were all gearing up. We had a fab pregnancy all the way through, just minor symptoms to be expected. And in the last week, really, I started to feel reduced movements. At 39 weeks, I started to feel, at 38.5, 38.6, I think it was, started to feel a change in her pattern, reduced movements. So because I was worried, I went to the pregnancy assessment centre with my mum. And they hooked me up to the monitors and said it was all fine, sent me for a growth scan just to be on the safe side. Again, said it was all fine, but because I was still saying it didn't feel the same, they said come back Thursday morning at 8:30. So I went by myself that time because I thought, as we'd been on the Wednesday and they said everything was fine, that really they'd just tell me again the same on Thursday, it would be fine. So I went again on Thursday, again early morning, and because I said I felt her movements a lot in the morning and a lot at night, and she hadn't moved that much Thursday morning, they sent a consultant to see me. And the consultant just came out with, it was a massive shock, and I was in tears. And at the time I was the only one in the assessment unit without somebody with me, because obviously I didn't think anything of it. He just came out with, well, because you're term, I think we should just induce you. How do you feel about that? And I was like, oh. And when you don't think of that, and you've been low risk and you've been aiming for like that birthing pool, it was quite shocking really, and very upsetting, because I just thought to myself, it's not going right now. And he said to me, baby's fine at the minute, we can't see anything wrong, but just because you're saying it's different, rather than wait and there could be something wrong, let's go for it now. So I got that, and I said, oh, when do you want to induce me? And he said tomorrow. And then the nurse had just said, like, well, the baby's been quite quiet today, and she says now is normal movements. So he said, oh, okay, today, that was it. He said tomorrow initially, so Friday. And then he went, oh, well, today then, ring up and see if they've got a bed on maternity. But they hadn't got a bed at the time, so I was able to go home and just get my stuff together, really. And I was admitted Thursday at 4 o'clock into the maternity ward. And nothing really happened. To be fair, they just come and put a wristband on me, did my obs, and left me to it. Just gave me, just that little jump, and just gave me something to eat, really. So I sent my husband home at about 10 o'clock. So I was like, you may as well sleep. Nothing's really going to happen tonight. My mum also came to visit me. She went home and, we were fine. It had sunk in what was going to happen. I'd read all about the induction and the process and stuff. And then they came to me about midnight, and it was like a pessary, which is basically like, it was a tampon soaked with prostaglandins, and it's a hormone that softens your cervix, and they popped that in. Not extremely painful, but very uncomfortable to have that put in. And then by 1:30, well, even before 1:30, by 1 o'clock, so an hour later, I was feeling really unwell. I'd had some diarrhea, I'd had some bad pain, and I'd got like the shakes almost. Now, I am a nurse, but I'm not a midwife, and I've never done labour before, so I didn't know. And I just thought maybe this is the start of it. I've read that you have diarrhea when you're in labour to naturally clear your system. And the midwife says, I'll be back at 2, but at 1:30 I buzzed her and said, I really don't feel very well. And she said, it's just the natural start of labour. So I was like, okay. She says, maybe it's just started early for you. Because on the leaflet it said it could take up to 32 hours for this pessary to work. So I was going on that. I called my husband back at 1:30. He got there at 2, and then very quickly things went wrong. What had happened is I'd had what they believed was some form of a reaction to the pessary, but that wasn't discovered till later on, because I'd said about the shakes that I had, which are called rigors. But what happened was it hyperstimulated my uterus. So basically, it was like I was continuously contracting. There was no stopping. And basically, baby little Leelou was getting distressed and her heart rate was through the roof. I wasn't the same. I'd had some cocodamol and I'd been sick everywhere. So I'd got no pain relief on board because I'd been sick. And it just felt like somebody scrunching my stomach continuously. They sent the lead nurse in, they sent 2 doctors in. I was cannulated, which is access putting into your veins. I was given loads of fluid in an attempt to try and rectify it. And then late in the very early hours of the morning, they removed the pessary. And then by morning, it was just like a very mild period-like pain type contractions. And that lasted until about tea time on the Friday. I'd got a TENS machine on, and basically ended up taking it off because the contractions stopped. And then Friday, they said they'd been saying all day that they were going to break my waters, but they just wanted the consultant to come and make a plan. I'd point blank refused another pessary and said, no, I'm not doing that. So at 8 o'clock on the Friday night, so I'd been in about just over 24 hours now, they came and broke my waters and walked me over to the delivery suite. Not long after they broke my waters, those contractions started, but they felt like normal contractions, like easing off, contraction, easing off, contraction. But by the time I got to the delivery suite, the pain was so intense. It was just like, I couldn't believe in the space of 10-15 minutes, they were like really strong and they were coming really fast. So I was given some gas and air, and really that was quite funny. It didn't take my pain away, it just made me laugh. But then the rest is all a blur. The contractions started coming more frequently, more stronger. Things that I said I initially didn't want, I ended up having because my pain was so bad. My mum was called very early on. I wasn't in established labour by the time she came, because I wanted her there now, and I was quite distressed, I think. And I don't know, maybe I've got a low pain threshold. I'm guessing I have, as I was on gas and air and pethidine quite quickly. And like I said, most of it I can't remember. I came out with really bonkers things, and my mum said at some point there was no reasoning with me. So they gave me some pethidine IM, and then there was reasoning with me after that. I calmed down. And then it was getting to about 4 o'clock in the morning. And what was basically happening was, well, I'd had 3 lots of pethidine, and Leelou was now getting sleepy. So they wouldn't give me any more pethidine. So again, my pain started to come back really bad. And again, there was no reasoning. I'd had 6 attempts at an epidural by 2 doctors, and they'd also called a consultant out of bed to see if he wanted to come and site an epidural because they were struggling so bad. I can't remember any of sitting there for over an hour with them continuously stabbing my spine. I can't remember that. My back, you can see the evidence of it though. There are multiple puncture marks where they've been at me with the needle. And then a couple of other doctors attended me. I think in total there were about 3 that attended. Again, lots of fluid was given to me to try and rectify everything and to wake baby because baby was getting quite tired. But the big problem was I could only get to 9 and a bit centimetres. When they were examining me, my cervix wasn't fully pushing back, so obviously I couldn't deliver. And they kept saying, every hour, we'll give it another hour. And then they'd come and they'd assess me again and examine me, and it was the same. Give it another hour. And then you'd be like, well, how long is it till you examine me again? I'm getting fed up. Come on. And this pain's getting worse. The pethidine's run out. And by about 8 o'clock, well, just before 8 o'clock, by about 7 o'clock, I'd had enough. It had been about 3 or 4 hours, and I hadn't moved that extra little bit. They tried to push my cervix back whilst I was on the delivery suite, and it was too painful. So the discussion that took place was, let's take you to theatre. let's do a spinal, which is basically the same as an epidural, but it's a thinner needle and it's slightly different. And we will see about doing an assisted delivery under spinal. Sorry, I'm so tired. We'll see if we can do an assisted delivery under spinal, and there was talk about an episiotomy and stuff. At this point, I really didn't care. You know, I just wanted it all to be over with. You know, I wanted baby to be out and baby to be fine. So sorry, it's a bit emotional. So I consented to go to a C-section, even though my mind was probably not in the room at all. And they took me down. It took them 20 minutes to get a spinal in, and that's normally like a 2-minute job. Again, my contractions was coming thick and fast, but what was hard was the fact that these contractions were coming thick and fast, but I felt like I so needed to push and I couldn't. Spinal eventually went in and it all calmed down. I just felt so relieved to just not feel pain anymore. And the doctor said, right, I'm going to see now. She tried to do an assisted delivery and she just popped her head over the side and said, it's still not pushing back, we'll go to a C-section. So we went for a full C-section. And then little one here, if I can tilt, little one here was born at 27 minutes past 8, and her cry just went through me. We obviously didn't know what we were having. I was convinced I was having a little boy. So to hear I had a little girl was just a shock. I lost 750 mils of blood, which apparently is quite normal. I am a little bit anemic, so I'm a bit pale. So yeah, and then the next, like later on that evening, all the doctors, because obviously I'm an NHS worker and some of them recognised me, they all came back to visit me. So the female doctor who delivered her for me, and the 2 anaesthetists who was trying to cite my lines came back to visit me. And I think I had massive apologies for them all, because I just said I felt like I'd probably embarrassed myself. I felt that I may have said things that I normally wouldn't have said. And they were all fine about it. They said I looked a completely normal, different person. But that's labour for you. That's what it does. So, apart from just maybe a little bit of embarrassment, it was okay. And they went on to tell me that they felt that I'd had a reaction to the pessary. And, you know, that had caused the hyperstimulation. And if they hadn't have reversed it on the first night, it could have ruptured my uterus wall and been fatal, is what they'd said. And also the epidural issue, how that's come about is basically I have narrow spacings in my spine, which means they couldn't really advance it. So if I ever have any type of surgery or anything that needs a spinal, or if I have to have it, if I go for another baby and I want another epidural, I need to tell them sooner rather than later. And for any operations, I need to see an anaesthetist beforehand, like, just because of the fact that it is so difficult to get one in. But I have to say, my baby, little Leelou here, was delivered at Russell's Hall Hospital, and I must say, the staff, phenomenal. There was only one particular lot of shift staff that I didn't like, and that was the Saturday day staff. I felt that they were very, just avoided you. I felt like I was waiting for pain relief all the time. You know, I felt like there was attitude all the time. You know, my infusions was running out and nobody was coming to switch them off. It was waking up all the babies. But apart from that, every other member of staff that we encountered, both prenatally, postnatally, during that time, I can't fault them. I would happily go back and deliver a second if I have to. And at the end of it, I've got her, so it's good. Yeah, she's just so sweet, and I just can't believe how quickly you can fall in love with somebody who's only been in your life less than a week. You know, she's 5 days old today. And that's the hormonal part coming back. I'll probably do another video soon, probably talking about what I did use in my bag, in my labour bag. I'll probably end up doing like things that I found an absolute godsend since having her, like, you know, products and items and stuff. And also we are breastfeeding at the minute. It is a struggle. So I just want to say to anyone who has tried breastfeeding and has given up, it doesn't matter. I'm currently struggling through breastfeeding, and I've got to say it's actually the hardest thing to do. And to all mums out there who can breastfeed, congratulations. It's amazing, isn't it? Um, but what I noticed the whole time that I was pregnant is that the amount of people who are haters for mums who bottle feed. And I've got to say, I can see how easy it is to crack when you're breastfeeding and go onto that bottle, onto that formula. I have given her a little bit of formula when I've struggled, not much. She's only had 3 tiny amounts of formula in like 5 days, so don't hate. If you've not been there and you don't know, then you can't comment. It's a really hard thing to do, breastfeeding is, especially when you're tackling home life, recovering yourself, and all the other things, just little things like worrying about them, like are they warm, and nappy changes, cleaning them, and they're so tiny, but we'll do a video on breastfeeding and how I've coped so far and survived. I'm hoping we can exclusively breastfeed now because I do love it. I do think it's a wonderful thing to do, and it's that bonding that no one else has got but you've got. So yeah. So thank you for watching. Any questions, put in the down bars, or any comments. I love to hear from you all, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.